I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier. No, they'll never take us under, because we're bringing truth like thunder. Raining on your speakers like a ton of bricks. Hold the cross high, cause we're Catholics. Fight the good fight with the truth. Stand tall with the truth. I'm a warrior for Christ. I'm in love with the truth. Love God, save souls, slay error. Go stronger. Go stronger.
Welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show. Jess is out today. He'll be back on Monday. Got a great show ahead of us. We're going to be talking about the Trump administration. Are you ready? Withholding $200 million from the state of California. For what? For violating the consciences on abortion. That's me. I don't want to pay for abortion. Well, thank you, Mr. Trump, President Trump, for doing that. Also, the Department of Justice is also suing a Vermont hospital for forcing a nurse to participate in the killing of an unborn child. I really appreciate that because we're standing up for life. Also, we're going to talk about something that, did you know that the people that are getting the vaccine, about 21% of the people have adverse responses from the shot of the vaccine. So this is interesting what this Dr. James has to say. Also, interesting to note, in Australia, they dropped one of their COVID vaccines after it caused a false HIV positive. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? And then, as you know, every January, December 16th, they in Italy, they have the miracle of the St. Januarius' blood. Well, it failed to liquefy this year, and that doesn't usually mean good things are ahead of us. Also, my good news story. I can't wait to tell you when we come back from a little later about Ohio's legislation. Wow, wait till you hear this. And then I want to also just mention something that, people say, well, you're just a Trumper. Well, you know what? President Trump has been the most pro-life president in my lifetime. And I did something that I don't agree with, but I'm going to say it because our good friend Lila Rose is also saying it, that challenging the Trump and Pence on support for abortion-tainted COVID vaccines. Let's get a vaccine, and they're working on it, that's not going to be tinted by abortion. And as Bishop Strickland has said this really clear, no way, I'm with him. If it's got any abortion connections, don't do it. That's my take. But before we get to all these topics, and one more thing, at 11:30, I'm going to get a call from our Real Estate for Life guy, Dave. He's going to tell us about what's going on with so many people moving out of California and moving to more conservative states like Texas, Arizona, and Nevada. So we'll be talking about that. But before we do any of that, we always like to get our soul food in. There's special readings today till Christmas because of the way Christmas is set up. And our reading today is taken from Matthew chapter 1, if you have your Bibles out, verse 18 to 25. So this is how the birth of Jesus Christ came about. When his mother Mary was betrothed to Joseph, but before they lived together, she was found with child through the Holy Spirit. Joseph, her husband, since he was a righteous man, yet unwilling to expose her to shame, decided to divorce her quietly. Such was his intention when, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary, your wife, into your home, for it is through the Holy Spirit that this child has been conceived in her. She will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son, and they shall name him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. When Joseph awoke, he did as the angel of the Lord had commanded him, took his wife into his home. He had no relations with her until she bore a son, and he named him Jesus, the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I am going to give a little commentary from the Navarre Bible, and this is something I would encourage you if you get a chance to buy. It's some Scepter Press. But here's the comments of the commentary. Matthew here relates how Christ was conceived. We truly honor and venerate Mary as the Mother of God because she gave birth to a person who is at the same time both God and man. That's taken right from the St. Pius V Catechism. According to the provisions of the law of Moses, engagement took place about 1 year before marriage and enjoyed almost the same legal validity. The marriage proper consisted, among other ceremonies, in the bride being brought solemnly and joyously to her husband's house. From the moment of the engagement onwards, a certificate of divorce was needed in the event of a break in the relationship between the couple. The entire account of Jesus' birth teaches us through the fulfillment of the prophet of Isaiah 7:14, which is expressly quoted here. Jesus has David as his ancestor, since Joseph is his legal father. Mary is the virgin who gave birth according to the prophecy. The child's conception without the intervention of man was miraculous. Now, St. Joseph was an ordinary sort of man on whom God relied to do great things. He did exactly what the Lord wanted him to do. That's why we want to follow Joseph. He did exactly what he wanted him to do in each and every event that was made up of his life. That is why Scripture praises Joseph as a just man. In Hebrews, a just man means a good and faithful servant of God, someone who fulfills the divine will, or who is honorable and charitable towards his neighbor. So a just man is someone who loves God and proves his love by keeping God's commandments and directing his whole life towards the service of his brothers and his fellow man. That's why Joseph considered his spouse to be holy despite the signs that she was going to have a child. He was therefore forced with a situation he could not explain. Precisely because he was trying to do God's will, he felt obligated to put her away, but to shield her from the public shame, he decided to send her away quietly. Now that's a good commentary from one of the founders of Opus Dei, Escobar, St. Escobar. And that is the commentary there. Now I want to bring in the smartest guy in the room, which is Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen. Full Sheen ahead. As a matter of fact, before I give you a quote, I have a CD that I'm going to do a download called The True Meaning of Christmas. I've put these out through Lighthouse Catholic Media over the last 25 years. It's a great talk on the true meaning of Christmas. If you want to download, and you just call 877-526-2151. And that's the only way you can get the download. And this will be, if you can make a little donation. If you can't, you just don't have it, don't worry about it. We'll still send it to you on a link. But it's a great talk by Bishop Sheen on the true meaning of Christmas. Now, here's what Bishop Sheen has to say today that I think is so powerful. It's really what it's all about when we think about it in our sense of life, how we operate. He says, every soul in the world has a price tag on it. And since many cannot or will not pay the price themselves, others must do it for them. Bishop Sheen says there's probably no other way to account for the conversion of some souls than the fact that in this world, as in the next, their parents, relatives, or friends interceded to God and won for them the prize of everlasting life. This message that Bishop Sheen gives is so consoling to all of us who have friends or relatives that aren't practicing the faith. What does that tell us? That every action is like a blank check. We need to offer everything to Jesus. And remember, Our Lady of Fatima said it. Souls are going to hell because no one is willing to pray and make sacrifices for them. So if you have a son or daughter or friend, Offer up the suffering. Like today's Friday. What can you do that would deny yourself something legitimately? Maybe a little bit extra sleep, maybe some food, could be going out and doing some charitable work. There's lots of people who need to have help, especially with this COVID-19, so many people are out of work. Go out and reach out to a family that could use some extra food or clothing. And, we were able to do that yesterday, and I thought it was so beautiful because they needed shelter, they needed food, they needed just basic stuff. So that would be my recommendation. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about something that's powerful. But I'll give you my good news story first, because I think you need to hear this. And this is in the state of Ohio. The legislator has passed a bill requiring human burial for aborted babies. See, these abortion centers are going to be required to provide options and pay for these children that are going to be buried. And this is really all about showing that there's a dignity here, that we got to stop this abortion. We really have to do that. But at least they're pointing out in Ohio that, hey, this is a baby. This is not some tissue, just loose tissue. And I think that's important to point out. So we're going in the right direction. And the other thing real quick is about Nevada can't restrict churches more than casinos for COVID-19. That just tells me California, Nevada, more states are going. The Supreme Court's telling us, open up our churches. I wish and pray that our leaders, our bishops, would say now's the time to open up the churches, especially for the Christmas season. You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Trump administration withholding $200 million for California. Don't turn that dial. Yes, Armando, what's up? Help the Helpless, a Minnesota St. Paul nonprofit organization chaired by Father of Tear and volunteers, is humbly asking you for your kind support to help the poor and the handicapped children in India and Ecuador. Through financial support from the Help of the Helpless benefactors, the children are provided with clothing, food, education, shelter, and the teachings of the Catholic Church. The mission is to help children thrive and become self-sufficient young adults leading productive lives. We also provide aid to poor families in Ecuador with food baskets, medicines, medical assistance, and help with funeral needs for the deceased. The work in India is done by Father Antonio's organization, St. Mary's. In Ecuador, the work is being done by the Servant Sisters of the Home of Mother. You can call us at 877-762-8857. To learn more, please visit our website, www.helpthehelpless.org. God bless you.
In 1 Corinthians 13:13, St. Paul says, "So there abide faith, hope, and love, these three." According to St. Ignatius of Antioch, faith is the beginning and love is the end. And God is the two of them brought into unity. Then comes everything else that makes up a Christian. May God grant that we may attain all the virtues that make for authentic followers of His Son.
This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for your support here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Here's an easy way to do it. If you're going to sell or buy a house, call Real Estate for Life, 877-543-3871, because they're going to get you a Christ-centered agent to purchase your home or to sell your home. And at the close of escrow, a portion of his commission goes right back to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Call 877-543-3871. Thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. To join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Now, here's Terry and Jesse.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. Jesse will be back on Monday. I wanted to tell people last night, Jesse and I spent an hour with Father Frank Pavone on Priest for Life talking about just a variety of topics. We were amazed on how many comments people were making. So if you're a brand new listener because of Terry and Jesse being on Father Frank Pavone, I want to welcome you. Also, I want to welcome the thousands of people that come on through YouTube. We want to say if you can like us, then you'll get notices when we have our live shows. And that's how we spread the message here. We have so many people calling, and all the way around the world saying that they're listening to us in Europe or even in the Middle East. It always surprises me, but I guess it can't, because as long as they got an internet connection, you can hear us. And also, I want to remind everybody, these little smartphones, if you want, you can get a free app from Virgin Most Powerful Radio. If for some reason we get cut off from social media, we still have a backup. We have this app. So it's called Virgin Most Powerful Radio's app. Go to your app store and just type in Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Yeah, I hope it never happens, but if it does, we can still communicate through this app anywhere in the world. All right, remember, a little later today, I'm going to have a call in from Dave from from Real Estate for Life, talking about how so many people are moving to different locations in the country. But this is a very important topic. President Trump's administration is withholding $200 million from California for violating the consciences on abortion. So I want to tell you exactly what this means. In Washington on December 16th, the Trump administration unveiled steps that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services are taking to enforce federal conscience protections. This is what he gave us as Christians. Laws by holding California and Vermont officials accountable for anti-life discrimination. I said that from the beginning. How can they force us to pay for abortion? Give me a break. Now, the announcement was made during this Life in Winning celebration of 4 years of President Trump's pro-life accomplishments. And there's a lot of accomplishments just there. And the event was hosted by Vice President Mike Pence at the White House, highlighting the many pro-life accomplishments of the Trump administration. Boy, he did a lot. Now, the Secretary, Alex Azar, Department of Health and Human Services, announced that his department is taking enforcement actions against the state of California for imposing universal abortion coverage mandates on the health insurance. Finally, we got something. Now, this is awesome. We have informed California that this policy clearly violates federal conscience laws, but that the state refused to fix the issue and comply. Accordingly, we plan to withhold $200 million in federal Medicare funds from the state in the first quarter of 2021. You know, my dad used to say, hit them in the pocketbook. And that's what President Trump is doing. He's hitting them in the pocketbook. Now, unless California amends its policies, we will seek to withhold an additional $200 million every quarter until it complies. I like this a lot. Thank you, Jesus. Now, in LifeSite News, Calvin Freeberger reported that the HHS issued a notice of violation to the state, declaring that California was in violation of the federal Weldon Amendment, which forbids federal assistance to states or localities that discriminate against any institution, individual healthcare unit, that healthcare entity does not provide, pay for, provide coverage, or refer for abortions. This is exciting for us because it's going to save lives. California officials choose not to heed the Trump administration warning, then the state is in defiance of federal religious liberty protection and said it will continue the policy of forcing private employers, even churches, to subsidize abortion. And you wonder why people are moving out of California? Now, back in 2014, I remember this. California enacted rules forcing all employees to fund health insurance plans that covered elective abortions on the theory that they were medically necessary. Medically necessary to execute someone? Give me a break. The state has been in this lawsuit ever since because we took them to the courts, which is exactly what we have to do. The federal conscience laws are more essential than ever at a time when pro-abortion Democrat-led states have tried to force health care professionals and entities like nurses and insurance providers to participate in abortion. Abortion is not health care. Give me a break. Say that again. Abortion is not health care. It is the destruction of innocent human life. Additionally, we now face the threat of a pro-abortion White House, a cabinet stacked with radicals like Xavier Baraka, who has spent his career going after health professionals, charities, and churches, and nuns who refuse to promote abortion on demand. The Weldon and Church Conscience Amendments are not optional. They are a federal law. She continued, and any incoming administration must enforce them and respect the foundational American freedoms and values they reflect. Now, we know on January 5th, another election in Georgia is taking place. And this is going to determine who's going to control the Senate. Now, if the Republicans lose, then the Democrats will they'll have the House, they'll have the presidency, and the Senate, potentially. If that happens, we got to get down on our knees and pray hard for this election on the 5th that it doesn't turn that way, because you don't want to have people who are wanting to kill the future citizens of America to control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It'll be a long 2 years if that happens. Not only on that, our religious freedom will be attacked. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I pray for my bishops and the bishops. I know what Bishop Strickland has done, and he's our hero, but I wish more bishops will speak out on this before the election and not after the election. I'm looking for courage. I'm looking for tenacity from our bishops to give us leadership. And I have to tell everybody right now, Bishop Strickland's YouTube video regarding the vaccine, I think it's 20,000 people have watched it by now, because he speaks like a shepherd. And I want everybody to check out our YouTube channel to hear what Bishop Strickland has to say on that topic, because it's a very important topic. Did you know this, that Dr. James Lyon, who holds a PhD in biology, described how the current COVID-19 vaccine being produced by Moderna, among others, has not undergone the industry standard testing and ignoring basic protocol. Did you know that? Did you know that 21% of the people who get the shot have a bad response from it? Let me just put it to you this way. When a new car comes out, a brand new car, they say don't buy the first year. Why? Because they got to work the crinks out of it. Buy it in the second year. It'll be much better. Well, I'm just going to make a suggestion. There are vaccines that are coming out that are not going to be tainted with abortion. Be patient. Don't compromise your faith and use the vaccines that are being used now. Wait until one comes down that will not be tainted by abortion. And one more quick note. Australia, they dropped one of their COVID vaccines because there's a lot of vaccines coming out. But they've dropped it because it caused false HIV positives. As a result, Australia is putting more of its resources in buying other vaccines. And so the point I'm trying to say is we are not real clear on which ones are going to work. What the testing has not been done in a quick way. It was done in a quick way. So we're going to probably be paying a price for that as people get sicker and sicker from this. And I want to just also encourage our listeners to call to get the Bishop Sheen's The True Meaning of Christmas. We produced this 20-some years ago at St. Joe Communications when I had it. And it was a powerful CD to help you meditate on the Christmas season. Later in the show, I'm going to ask if you want to call in and talk about how you're going to celebrate Christmas among COVID-19. I know how we're going to do it at the Barber Home, but I want to hear from you. And now that our phone lines are working, I'm going to have one more interview, and when we take this quick break with Real Estate for Life with Dave, and then I'm going to open up the phones, if you would like to chat about how you're going to prepare for Christmas, because this is really an important feast, the incarnation of our Lord, the God becoming man. Also, don't forget, pick up that CD by Bishop Sheen, The True Meaning of Christmas, by calling 877-526-2151. And then I'm going to also talk about something that's a negative for Mr. Trump. And it's about Lila Rose, president of Live Action. She's challenging the Trump and Pence administration on the issue of support for abortion-tainted COVID vaccines. She says, I'm one person that has been a great supporter of President Trump, and I am too. But when something like this comes up, you can't be quiet because you got to be objective. You got to have the truth. She says, I don't expect a pro-abortion bankrollers to care, but where was a supervision by the pro-life government entities backing this? That's her question. And I agree with her. Nearly all the COVID vaccines are being created either with aborted babies or being tested with aborted babies. Not all of them. So this Children of God for Life organization confirmed this by saying the Pfizer vaccine is tested using HEK293 cell lines, which are derived from a kidney tissue taken from a healthy baby who was aborted in the Netherlands in the 1970s. We want to be pure with our faith. That's what I agree with her. She says, it seems that an appeal earlier this year by over 130 pro-life congressmen, and I thank them for that, asking Trump to redirect funds towards ethical, successful alternatives to combat the COVID-19. It wasn't heeded. And I agree with her that we need to make sure that any vaccine that we use is not tainted with aborted babies or any connection, just like Bishop Strickland said on the Bishop Strickland Hour here on Virgin Most Powerful Radio. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about real estate for life. If you're thinking of moving, you want to connect with these folks because they got tons of people, over 1,000 agents around the country who are Catholic, who are committed to the faith. And when you sell your house, it supports us here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Don't forget, call that number, 877-526-2151 to get your free Bishop Sheen, The True Meaning of Christmas. If you want to make a donation for the year in, I say thank you. If you can't, I still say thank you. Enjoy Bishop Sheen, The True Meaning of Christmas. We'll be right back with more on the Terry and Jesse Show on Virgin Most Powerful Radio.
A great man once said that evil is powerless if the good are unafraid. Well, you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind and his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose this war, and in so doing lose this great way of freedom of ours, history will report with the greatest astonishment that those that had the most to lose did the least to prevent it from happening. Well, I think it's high time now that we ask ourselves if we still even know the freedoms that were intended for us by our founding fathers. Every generation of Americans needs to know that freedom exists, not to do what you like, but having the right to do what you ought. You weren't made to fit in, my brothers and sisters. You are born to stand out. Set yourself apart from this corrupt generation. Be saints. God bless you.
If you shop on Amazon.com, there's an easy way to support Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Just visit smile.amazon.com and type in Catholic Resource Center under the desired charity. Now, when you log into your Amazon account and purchase products, a portion of it will automatically go to support Virgin Most Powerful Radio at no cost to you. Thanks in advance for supporting CRC and VMPR, and may God richly bless you and your family.
This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for your support here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Here's an easy way to do it. If you're going to sell or buy a house, call Real Estate for Life, 877-543-3871, because they're going to get you a Christ-centered agent to purchase your home or to sell your home. And at the close of escrow, a portion of his commission goes right back to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Call 877-543-3871. Thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. To join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Now, here's Terry and Jesse.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. I always like to say we're too blessed to be stressed, too anointed to be disappointed. And if hope was money, we'd be millionaires. That's Jess and I. So I just want to remind you that today, after this show, we have the Bible with the Barbers talking about Christmas. I really want to focus on how to prepare for Christmas, and that's why after this interview here, I want to open up the phone lines to our listeners to tell us, what are you doing for Christmas? And, you can call us at 888-526-2151. I don't know if my man is on the air yet, but we'll see. He'll let me know. My engineer will let us know. And this is, again, a True Meaning of Christmas by Archbishop Sheen's. It's a 1-hour CD, but you're going to get it as a download, and it's free. If you want to make a donation, go ahead and make a donation. If you can't, you can't, because we're trying to close out the year with some big donations. That's what we're asking for right now. So call us at 877-526-2151. If I don't have Dave on yet for Real Estate for Life, let me just share a little bit of what we're doing. You hear those commercials for Real Estate for Life, and I have to tell you, are we there yet, Richard? No. I have to tell you that I think I have Dave on now from Real Estate for Life. Dave, are you there? It's Terry. Hello, Dave.
Glad to be here, Terry.
God love you. I was just going to share a little bit about what you're doing, but now that you're here, you saved me. So, Dave, welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show. Dave, you've been on before to talk about Real Estate for Life, but I'm going to tell you, the culture that we're in right now, people are moving out of California by the groves. I think it's 800,000 people have gone to Texas in the last decade from California. And many people are leaving, especially because of the religious freedom issues in California, the economy, high taxes. Tell us what you do to help people who want to make a move, even if it's from not California, anywhere in the country or even the world. Tell us what Real Estate for Life is all about.
All righty. So what we do is very simple. We connect faith-based people who are going to buy or sell with faith-based experienced agents. And we have 1,000 agents in our system,
wow,
which has been built up over the last 10-plus years.
Mm-hmm.
We probably have over 2,000 hours of research into that agent database, and we keep it up. So that is basically what happens. And the agent that is local to where the person needs to get out of or
mm-hmm.
get to, and usually local means a 10 to 20-mile distance, sometimes longer in the rural areas. And so they simply help them. They sit down with them and figure out what their needs are and close them out from that sale. Of course, there's a commission paid to the agent. We get a thank you note, a referral check, which is very customary, normal in the industry. It does not affect commission structure because it's a part of the industry anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then we donate the bulk of that to pro-life activities and faith organizations like Virgin Most Powerful Radio.
Great. Well, tell us, what are you hearing in the last, I'd say even 6 months? It seems like in California, I know what I'm hearing. People are getting out. We've got a horrible governor in California who we're trying to evict. But tell me what you're hearing from people that are wanting to move to different, where are they going?
Well, here's the good news.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm hearing is primary, meaning it's right from the people.
Mm-hmm.
And where my old call used to be, Dave, I'm moving from California. I'm moving from San Clemente
Mm-hmm.
to East Dallas, Texas, perfect. We'll get you an agent on both ends, and then that goes from one to the other.
Right.
Mission accomplished. Today they call me and they say, Dave, I've got to get out of the state of Washington or Oregon or California,
Mm-hmm.
Northeast, of course, in Illinois. And they say, basically, I've got to get out now. Where should I go?
Wow. I've been telling everybody, Tyler, Texas. Have you seen anybody going there? Because I have, from California.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had people that they'll call me and they'll say, I want to go to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho,
Sure.
which is a great place to go.
Yep.
And there's a good, strong Catholic community there.
Right.
And then I'll have them swerve off of that and end up in Tyler.
Yeah. Well, Bishop Strickland is the hook there. I mean, he's going to be there for the next 11 years unless he gets removed. But all my friends in Tyler just love having Bishop Strickland as their ordinary.
It really is a great target location. Certainly Dallas, Houston, those are relatively expensive places to get a home. But Tyler is not.
Got
You
it.
can get a lot of house in Tyler. You've got a city, you've got the country,
Right.
and you've got Bishop Strickland.
Yeah, those are good things to have. Dave, let me ask you this. If someone's thinking of listing their home, to how do they contact you? And that way, Virgin Most Powerful will get, a little bit of a commission back to helping our radio ministry. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way is the website, realestateforlife.org. And people will simply, if they forget it, they'll just Google, find a Catholic realtor, find a pro-life realtor. We're going to be the first hit on any search engine.
Good.
And then they go right to realestateforlife.org. Or they call us less commonly, but they call us at our 800 number, which is 877-LIFE, US 1, 877-LIFE, US 1. Those are the two primary ways to get hold of us.
Dave, do you have any stories of families that have communicated to you how happy they are that they were able to make that move? And I'm sure they had trepidation when they did that, but tell us a couple success stories if you have them.
Absolutely. And so a good one that comes to mind is a Tyler, Texas. And they came out of San Diego towards Carlsbad.
Yep, I know where it is.
Anyway, so yes, okay, good. Yep. Anyway, so they got, it was interesting because originally they were going to go to Arizona. And then they realized that probably isn't what the best move anymore. And so they ended up moving to Texas. And once they got there and they got settled, the best part of what they did then was almost like an immigrant coming across from Europe in the 1800s. They start bringing their family members with them because they get settled. They set up a beachhead, and then their family just starts following them.
Wow.
Another one that was kind of a good story that was having to do with the state of Washington was we had from the north part of Seattle go to Idaho. And so we placed the customer with the agent, and everything was moving along. And that agent actually was newer to our system. We found him at a good, faithful church. And a few days later, the agent calls me and says, I thought you'd find this interesting. A friend of mine just called me, and they said, hey, we're in Idaho. So, what are you doing in Idaho? I said, we packed up the house, and we left.
What?
We live here.
Oh, my gosh.
And said, and the key's under the mat. Sell the house.
Wow. That's an incredible story. I'm sorry. That's amazing.
It's just amazing. They just packed up in the middle of the night and left.
So, Dave, for people, they can go to our website and get a link at virginmostpowerfulradio.org, or they can go directly to you. But I just want to remind all our listeners to keep in mind to mention you want to make sure that Virgin Most Powerful Radio gets this little commission back from the sale of the home, or whether you buy or sell. Now, Dave, that's true. Even if I call it a double-ender, they could list their home through Real Estate for Life, and once their home sells, a portion of that commission comes back to Virgin Most Powerful. But in addition to that, when they buy another home, the same thing will take place. Is that a fair statement?
That's precise.
Yeah.
And there's something else I wanted to mention that I don't even think I've told you about.
Tell us.
One of the groups that we've had since the very beginning, our number one group, very steady group.
Sure.
We've probably sent them $300,000 over the last 10 years.
Thanks be to God.
And since we met, we were introduced to you by this group.
Yep.
Since we met, you are now our number two group.
Wow, that's impressive. That's great.
I mean, and that's ahead of a lot of groups. That's ahead of things like Human Life International and Students for Life.
Sure.
It's
amazing. Well, thank you. You know what it comes down to? Our listeners are loyal listeners, and they want to support Virgin Most Powerful Radio because they appreciate our straightforwardness. There's no compromise here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And that's why if I didn't know you, I met you, Dave. I know that you have a love for the faith and that what you're doing is very important to help support pro-life organizations and pro-Catholic organizations that are trying to evangelize people with the gospel. Dave, one more time, how can they get a hold of you directly with the website and the phone number?
The website, realestateforlife.org, phone number 877-LIFE-US1, 877-LIFE-US1. And just to touch on your supporter base, is extraordinary. This is what's driving you into our number two spot behind a group that's much, much bigger.
Sure.
And it's because your base in this particular environment, even with the church being in disarray, it's a place of safety for people to go and get lifted up.
Right.
And go back out and fight.
Well, I appreciate that, Dave. I have realestateforlife.org, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us here to tell all our folks here to encourage them to go to your website if they're going to buy a house or sell a house or even a rental property, any kind of real estate. Give them a call. Dave, thanks again for joining us, and I hope you and your family have a great Christmas. Thanks so much.
God bless.
God bless you too. Hey, up next, anybody who wants to call in right now in this last segment, tell me about your Christmas plans. I hope they're big plans. Here, we'll be right back to talk to you. Did anybody call?
In Luke 7, Jesus said, I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven her, because she has been shown great love. According to St. John of the Cross, Christians should always remember that the value of their good works is not based on number and excellence. Their value is based on the love for God that prompts them to do the works. May we always be motivated by true love for God, and not worry so much about what we do, but why we do it.
How does the baby move in your tummy? How does the baby eat? Can the baby hear me? How did the baby get in there?
Wow, a pregnancy can sure generate a lot of questions. But what's important is that a baby is a baby, inside and out of the womb. Not just after birth, but 9 months before. at conception.
That's right. Every baby is a miracle. Hello, my name is Marianne Koharski. I'm the director of Pro-Life Across America. If you know someone who is pregnant or in need of alternatives or assistance or would like to support the work of Pro-Life Across America, please visit our website at prolifeacrossamerica.org, or better yet, simply dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword pro-life. Pro-Life Across America is non-political and totally educational.
A baby's heart is beating 18 days from conception.
Pro-life across America, the Billboard people.
This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for your support here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Here's an easy way to do it. If you're going to sell or buy a house, call Real Estate for Life, 877-543-3871, because they're going to get you a Christ-centered agent to purchase your home or to sell your home. And at the close of escrow, a portion of his commission goes right back to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Call 877-543-3871. Thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. To join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Now, here's Terry and Jesse.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. I wanted to mention something to you, that some of our shows were taken off YouTube, and we actually have a new format. We're putting our shows on Rumble. That's an alternative to YouTube. So if something happens to YouTube, we would go right to Rumble and to our app. I just got a Christmas card. I get them every day here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. And over 41 years of doing apostolic work, I've had people tell me that, through Fulton Sheen's material, Dr. Hahn, they became a priest, or they got married and they read 3 to get married, and boy, it just really helped them so much. And I always say, any good that we do comes from God, and we thank Him for it. Here's a Christmas card that says, "Dear Terry and Jesse, wishing you a blessed Christmas." She says, "If it wasn't for me listening 3 years ago to your show, my husband and I would have walked away from our RCIA program." So they're converts to the Catholic faith. And why would they walk away? Because one of the leaders mentioned Father James Martin, the Jesuit, and how awesome he was. And a red flag went up. We live in a very liberal area. And she became a Catholic. And I just want to thank all you monthly donors who support us, because we wouldn't be on the air without you. And that's the kind of thing you're getting. You're getting converts to the Catholic faith in spite, okay? And I'm saying in spite of scandal in the church. And that's a scandal that Father Martin is running around, a Jesuit, with the Holy See's blessing, saying that same-sex marriage should be legitimate. And I just think that's scandalous, and I would agree with that. I understand we got someone on the air waiting on the hold, but I'll get to you in a minute. I just want to say thank you for their supporters. If you become a monthly donor, at least at $25 or more, you get lots of product from St. Joe's, which was mine at one time for 30-some years. And you'll get Scott Hahn material, you'll get Michael Barber's, Jesse Romero, Tim Staples, Father Bill Casey. We send all this material through a link every month. So you're being fed with great formation material. Why? Because I want to build you up in the faith. And you're building us up by paying our bills. So it's my way. I mean, I give you about $200 worth of recordings for $25 a month donation. Not a bad deal. So if you want to join us, go to LifeSite News. Go to virginmostpowerfulradio.org, and that way you can sign up, or you can call 877-526-2151. My monitor is not working, so I'm kind of in the dark. If we have a listener on hold, I would like to say welcome you, give us your name, and tell us what you're going to do for Christmas and how you're going to celebrate this great feast. Okay. Nobody. Okay, so here's my question to our listeners. I'm hoping and praying that you will celebrate this Christmas season with a lot of vigor and a lot of formation for preparing for the incarnation, that God became man. After this show, we have the Bible with the Barbers, and we're going to talk about Christmas And I think it's going to be very profound because we're taking it from some of the most best theologians in the world, the material they have on Christmas. So I would mention that to you. I want to follow up on something that Live Action founder challenges the Trump and Pence administration again. And again, some people say, well, you mean you're accusing the Trump administration of not being totally pro-life on this? Yeah, I am. Why? Because I'd like to see the COVID-19 vaccine without any taint of abortion. Because I'm not going to take it, and I don't think anybody else should. And Bishop Strickland supports us on that. So I just want to challenge them because I know there's going to be a vaccine. Many of them are coming out that will not have the abortion tinted, with the vaccine. So I would encourage you not to take the vaccine right now until they have a clear one that will do the job without taking it from aborted babies. I just think you got to be pure when it comes to the faith. Some people will say, oh, Terry, come on, compromise. Nope, I'm not going to compromise, not one iota. So I would expect you not to also. I also just want to throw one more thing at you, and that is this year, this is a survey, Pew Research, that 3 out of 4 people say that our country is in an existential crisis. Well, there's a crisis in the church, crisis in the culture, because we've turned away from the cross of Christ. I think everybody would agree with that. Because if we stood up, like, for example, in not just elections, but for the unborn, 45 years ago, we would have never had abortion in this country. But too many of us have become silent. And that's why I always like to quote Saint Pope Felix III. And this guy said it back in 475. Can you imagine? He said this, not to oppose error is to approve it. So being silent right now, you're approving error. I didn't say it, the Pope said it. And not to defend truth is to suppress it. So for us not to respond to the evils that are out there and just saying, oh, I'm going to continue to just have my comfort level of, having enough food to eat, warm bed. Why should I worry about this? The reason is because God expects us to defend the truth. Because he says, indeed, to neglect to confound evil men. So those who don't confound evil men when it comes to abortion, basically he said when we can do it is no less a sin than to encourage them. It's called sins of omission. And I read that often because it motivates me to stand up even when I'm going to be persecuted for speaking up for the truth. Now, many of you know I've been involved in the pro-life movement for 45 years. Since I was a teenager, we prayed the rosary, the Shield of Roses, outside abortion clinics. I was arrested years ago, I think it was 1988 or 89, with Dr. Bernard Nathanson in Cypress, California. And I locked arms with him. We closed the abortion clinic. We said, no, a necessity law. We're going to save a life. So we got arrested. And why do I say that? Because 40 or 50,000 people that year were arrested. I really believe at this point we just have to put it down and say, enough's enough. We're not going to take it anymore. And we're going to pray like everything depends on God and work as it depends on us. In other words, do what we can to defend life. Do what we can to promote the faith. And again, the worship of God, if you're in Southern California, if you're in Southern California right now, you can come to our church. We don't close our church. We don't. It can go. We have people coming and praying the all-night vigils sometimes. Yes, a lady asked me this week, can I come? I usually make once a month all-night vigil to be with Jesus. Can I? I'm so disappointed the last 9 or 10 months I haven't been able to do it. I said, come on down. The doors are open. That's what you're supporting when you support Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Because we offer all kinds of things. We have almost 20 funerals a month this month, reaching out to people. Last night, we had to reach out to a family that their 17-year-old son played Russian roulette and shot himself. You think that's ministry? It certainly is. That's what we're doing, because where else are they going to go in California? We're it. And so this is why we reach out to people with the gospel. And that's what you're supporting. One last thing I'll mention. They told me, hey, you want to have lunch with me? Would you like to come into the studio for a live rebroadcast? You can come into studio A or B, and I'm going to do the show with Jesse. After the show, we'll go to lunch. And all I ask is a one-time donation. $1,000, because we need funding. And I said, I used to do this for Immaculate Heart Radio. They used to give $5,000 to go to lunch. I said, you're crazy. Well, anyhow, if you'd like to join me for lunch, join me for the show here in the studio, just call 877-526-2151 or call me on my cell phone. I do it all internet. I have people call me all the time. 661-972-7872. Remember, for those who aren't listening on YouTube or our app, if you're on an AM station, we're going to have another show with the Bible with the Barbers with my faithful wife. We're going to talk about Christmas. Let's get focused on what's most important. That's our Catholic faith. I understand we got to pay our bills. Okay, we got to pay our bills. But how do we encounter Jesus Christ in a powerful way? That's another important fact that Virgin Most Powerful is trying to introduce you to the person of Christ and his church. And that's another reason to support us here. So if you'd like to go to the website, end of the year donations, go for it. Just go to virginmostpowerfulradio.org or call us at 877-526-2151. And again, if we ever get cut off on YouTube, we now have on Rumble, our shows going on Rumble, those that just don't make it on YouTube. Why are we doing this? Because we're preparing for someday, if we get persecuted, where our app is the only way people can hear us, then download the app on your smartphone to go to your store and just put that in, because this is how we're going to communicate. Even if I'm in jail with Jesse, we will be preaching the gospel in season and out. That's our commitment, and we've been doing it for 41 years, and we're going to continue until God calls us home. Again, up next, Bible with the Barbers. I want to tell you this hour is going to be very informative in the sense of helping you have the best Christmas ever. Why? Because we're going to give you some great material that we've shared. My wife and I have been reading for years, and we're going to share that with you to inspire you to fall deeper in love with Jesus Christ and his bride, the church. Remember the 5 stones of David. We end every show with that. Get the confession at least once a month. Read your Bible every day. Pray your rosary every day. Remember, Our Lady said souls are going to hell because no one's there to pray and make sacrifices. And again, sacrifices. This is Friday. What can we do? Is there a family that lost their job that maybe was in the restaurant business? Help them out. Feed them. Go get some food for them. And that's what I would say is important. Sharing the gospel one family at a time. And then if Jesse was here, I'd say, Jesse Romero, what state should we be living in? After we talked about real estate for life, no, we're not talking Arizona, California, Texas, Nevada. No, we're talking about the state of grace. That's what we should be living in. If you're in the state of mortal sin, you've been away from the church for years, this is your invitation. Come on home. Get the confession. We'd love to see you there. And then tell your friends about Virgin Most Powerful. Hey, up next, the Bible with the Barbers. Right after a short break, going to talk about the true meaning of Christmas here on Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Thanks again for the donations that you've been given for the year. It's helped us continue to grow and spread the Catholic faith at a time when it's desperately needed in this world of chaos, in a world that acts like God doesn't exist. God love you, and full sheen ahead.